Americans, USA, what is a good thing about your country? I can literally see every type of climate without leaving the country. The national park system. The natural aspects of it are quite beautiful. And there are very diverse natural aspects. I am a naturalized U.S. citizen, have been living here for 12 years now, and I am still in awe and disbelief on how amazing public libraries are here. U.S. has 63 national parks and thousands of state parks. They preserve some of America's most beautiful places. Yellowstone. Yellowstone is like being on an entirely different planet at times, with a ridiculous amount of flora and fauna that either want to eat you or build a nest in your car, not to mention the Eldridge geysers and springs. It's absolutely essential viewing, and God bless Teddy Roosevelt. The Americans with Disabilities Act. I didn't realize how much reserved parking spots by the door, wide sidewalks that must be clean, handicap bathrooms, and having ramps at the entrance were important until my brother became wheelchair-bound. As an immigrant, I've always felt at home. We are huge. You can go on pretty much any kind of a vacation you want without leaving the country: beach, mountains, desert, snow, high culture, big city, small rural town, sports, music. The only limit is your time and your budget. Space program? 30-year fixed-rate mortgages. Access to public education for children with special needs is a right guaranteed by law, and those protections are stronger, and the educational service for special needs children are better than in most of the rest of the world. The ADA is also pretty amazing, and the United States is a lot more accessible than most other countries. Some of that's because the buildings are newer, yes. But it's really nice to go on vacation and know that your hotel will be able to accommodate you, tour buses will be able to accommodate you, most tourist attractions will be able to accommodate you, etc. I live in Seattle, and I love that you can find any kind of food from anywhere in the world if you look hard enough. I've traveled all over the US, and each city has its own food history, since everyone's families originally, 99%, came from somewhere else. And like everyone says, our federal park system is huge. You go to a restaurant, and they just give you a gigantic glass of ice water for free. Incredible natural beauty and diversity of ecosystems. Been living in US for a decade now. There are many positives about this great nation. National and state parks, it's not a stretch to say that they're one of the most well-preserved places. No one does this better than US. Thousands of places to hike, swim, kayak, canoe, camp. It's a diverse country. I can bet not all of you have seen lakes like the Great Lakes. It's altogether a unique and unreal experience to see a lake, just in name, but behave like a FKN ocean, but it's fresh water. There are many things in US that are refreshingly simple. From a red tape/bureaucratic perspective, easy to start a company, rent a car, get a state ID, driver's license. One of those nations which still offers you a chance of upward mobility by hard work. I know it can be contentious, but compared to many nations on Earth, it's better. Road trips. No one does road trips better than US. It's one of most fun things that you can do if you're here. The freeway system is superb and well connected. You can pretty drive from Maine to California, or Barrow, Alaska to Key West, Florida. It's one of the greatest experiences of living in US. Beer and food. USA is a diverse nation, and it allows a person enjoy food from multiple ethnicities, areas. I never thought I'd be able to eat Ethiopian food in my life, or Mongolian, but being in US made it possible. Also, it has a rich beer culture. People. Last but not the least. I know on media and social media we get to see the worst of the people in US, and there are people who are bad, but there are good people as well, and they don't mind helping. Good, kind-hearted folks, quirky in their own way, of course. I have had the pleasure to know some fine people who welcomed me with open arms, and now have become a part of my family. There's red tape and BS, but you still can work in any industry you want in the US. You can also switch career paths and start over at any time. The fact that I can piss and moan about and criticize the government and or president and not fear official retribution. The endless diversity of delicious food brought by immigrants from around the world. While this may not apply to any given American person or town, our culture is not rigid or uptight at all. There's very little consequence in doing things drastically different from your neighbors, and there's not much broad expectation to conform to how things are done. Someone might judge you, but that's just, like, their opinion, man. While I don't think this is necessarily uniquely American, it's definitely not universal. Free public restrooms. A lot of people say there is no American culture, but it's just so spread and diverse that you don't notice it. You can get culture shock from going a state or two over. It might not show on the news or even on social media, but the diversity is truly amazing. You can have a group full of different types of people and it's always a good time. I've never been out of the country, but I find it neat that we can get a taste of almost everything here. It might not be perfect or authentic, but at least we have an idea. Diversity. Sometimes it blows my mind that a place like Florida could be in the same country as a place like Alaska. The country is huge. It takes about 42 hours of non-stop driving to go from New York City to Los Angeles. That's probably 4 days of solid driving with at least 10 hours a day or driving. What you see on the news about us is not representative of the common person. Each state is almost like an individual country in itself. The nation is absolutely gorgeous, from red rock deserts, to pine forests, to barren prairies, to stunning mountain ranges, to beautiful tropical beaches, and more. The people are almost universally friendly. It's our culture. You say hi to strangers and ask how they're doing even if you've never met them. It's our small talk to start a conversation, whether it's at a store, restaurant, or random person on the street. For the most part, we are very friendly. You can have a friendly little chat or interaction with a stranger anywhere like you're good friends. I just got back from a 2-week backpacking trip through the Nordics and, no offense because I love and respect their culture, I felt completely invisible the entire time. No one is friendly there, partially because it's considered weird to talk to strangers. But the coldness is palpable. Made me a little relieved to get back to the US, where people actually smile or chat with you instead of just being as cold as possible. Also, we tend not to hate tourists because of where they're from, the way that some, definitely not most, but some, people immediately made assumptions about Americans and were actively mean because of it. Like, yes, there are some dirtbag American tourists. Unfortunately, I've met them. But the vast majority of us are not like that and shouldn't be treated like that immediately. Americans don't really see tourists when they come here and actively try to be mean because of what country the tourist is visiting from, the way some, but not all, Europeans do when they see Americans. Dolly Parton, obviously. You can drive a coupe of states over it and everything is different. In general, despite how the media might portray it or how much the US is criticized for racism, the US is by far the most culturally diverse country. Most other countries don't have as big of an issue with racism because they are mostly homogeneous and the outliers are typically well integrated. If you see a black man, an Asian, a Caucasian, and an Indian all hanging out in America, nobody will bat an eye. But if you have that same group in France or Germany? In France, everyone there was staring at us like we were little green aliens having a picnic. Did any other Americans come here just to be reminded why it's not the hopeless hellscape the news tells us it is? According to my mom, who grew up in China as the communist regime fell, she thinks the freedom in America is pretty great, like you can pick your own job and the government doesn't pick it for you, and she kept reminding me of this growing up in America.